Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the second installment of Algebra. Here we have Algebra number 2. This is going to be dealing with the... oh, wait. Say hi, Talise.
Hi!
What are you doing?
Eating crackers and hummus.
Not a girl. Anyways, here we go. So the difference that I want to express, first of all, is the difference between an equation and an expression. We looked in the last section, the algebra number 1 there, that an expression is a combination of terms, right? So 3x plus 2, there's two terms. This is a coefficient, this is a variable, and this is a constant. This whole thing is called a binomial. This can represent a bunch of different things. Who knows what it is, but we're keeping it very simple right now, okay? An equation means that you have an equal sign and it's actually equal to something. So you can have it equal to 5, for example, or you can have it equal in x, or you can have it equal something else. But this now, since it has an equal sign and an expression on one side, this is now what we call an equation. And you need to know how to solve equations, okay? If you can't solve an equation, then you're going to have a very hard time finishing your math career in high school, okay? And again, I'm going to start at the basics, okay? So I'm going to leave this equation alone because we're going to be able to solve this down the road. But right now, we're going to be dealing with the basics, okay? And that's moving stuff around. When we're solving an equation, you need to move stuff around, okay? And the first thing we're going to look at is adding and subtracting. So a simple thing. Algebra means that we're solving an equation of some sort, okay? And in order to have an equation or solve an equation, you need to have a variable. So we're going to keep it super simple, and we're going to say something like x plus 1 equals 3, okay? X plus 1 equals 3. Now, you don't even have to do anything with this. You guys can hopefully look at this and see that x is equal to 2, okay? Simple as that. And that's valid. That's called inspection. You solved it by inspection. But I'm going to give you equations that you won't be able to solve by inspection. So you need to understand the basic processes, okay? So what is it that I did to this to get 2? Well, lots of things that we can say here. You can say opposite side, opposite sign. This might be something that one of your teachers said to you, opposite side, opposite sign, which means if you take this and move it together, you're gathering like terms, right? You're grouping these constants together. And if this goes to the other side, it becomes a minus 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2, okay? Another way to think about it is that whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So if I start off with x plus 1 equals 3, how do you get rid of the 1 to get the x, right? You subtract 1. That leaves you with x. Well, if you subtract 1 from this side, you have to subtract 1 from that side, and you get x equals 2. The most basic premise of solving equations, okay? Adding and subtracting. So if I gave you y plus 3 equals 1. What is y? Okay, well, a couple different ways. Figure it out. Subtract 3, subtract 3. Y is equal to negative 2. Or move it over. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. I don't care how you do it. Just know how to do it. Okay? One little tricky one here that you might get is what would happen if I said, say, 2 minus x is equal to 1. Okay, you've got the minus on the x. See if you can answer this one without an issue. Well, I could see people bringing this over here, right? Minus 2, so you have minus x is equal to minus 1. Well, we'll learn how to deal with this later, but if you bring this x over here, that makes it a positive x, right? And if you bring that minus 1 over to this side, boom, it makes it a positive 1. So if 9 minus x is equal to minus 1, well, that means that x is equal to 1. And if you like having the x on the left side all the time, then just rewrite it. Boom, there you go. All right? So that's adding and subtracting, all right, you guys? Now, we're going to look at the other option, which would occur when you have something like this. 2x is equal to 8. Well, now we're going to be doing what? Multiplying and dividing, okay? Now, you have 2 x's. You can't subtract 2 to get rid of the 2. How do you get rid of the 2? You divide it by 2. Boom. What's 2 over 2? 1 x, okay? And now remember that what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. What's 8 over 2? 4, all right? Now, it's not always going to work out nice, ladies and gentlemen. It's not always going to be a nice fat round number, okay? It might be 4.5. It might be 7 halves. It might be 13 quarters, okay? It doesn't really matter. Those are still valid answers. Have faith in yourself, understand the basic processes, and you should be fine, all right? If I have 3x is equal to negative 12, how are we going to solve this, okay? Well, I have a 3 in front of the x. If I divide by 3, that gives me 1x. Divide this side by 3, divide this side by 3. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. Now, I said multiplying and dividing, and it seems to me that all we're doing here is dividing. Where does the multiplying come into play? Well, let's check it out. X over 2 is equal to 3. Well, now I've got a 2 on the bottom. If I've got a 2 on the bottom, I need to put a 2 on the top. That's multiplying by 2. That means I multiply this side by 2. 2 over 2 becomes 1x, and 3 times 2 is 6. Okay? You need to remember a couple things here. X over 2 is the same as saying 1/2 x. Okay, because there's a 1 in front here. Now, you're not usually going to see it like this, actually. You might have something like this. 1/3 x is equal to 1. Well, if you have a third, how do you get 1x? Well, 3/3 give you 1x. You multiply this side by 3, you multiply that side by 3, you get x equals 3. Okay, so these are two basic processes that we're going to look at when you're solving equations. And the next step would be to have them a combination and then throw it in brackets. So let's look at a quick combination here. If I have 3x minus 2 is equal to 4, okay, the first thing you need to do is gather like terms. Well, think about it. What are you going to do here? Right? Simplify it. What's the first thing that you can do? Let's bring that over here, make it a plus 2. 3x is equal to 6. Boom, there you go. What's the next step? Divide by 3, divide by 3. 3 over 3 is 1. 6 over 3 is 2. And you've got your answer. The beauty with this stuff, folks, is that you can always check. Put this 2 back in here. 3 times 2, right? Minus 2 is 4, so 3 times 2. That's your x we just found. Minus 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. Minus 2 is 4. You know you have the right answer. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a bunch of examples in class, or if you want to practice these on your own online, there's tons of these around, okay? No lack of examples. Please feel free to come talk to me. Chapter 3 or installment 3